welcome to Portage Lake and Portage 51. Really excited to have you here. This is the first interview of the what's hope to be many episodes, talking to filmmakers, talking about filmmaking in the North. And I'm here with...
So my name is Piotr Skowroński. I'm a filmmaker with Arcane Film Group and Lightspell Media. I'm a producer, director, and director of photography.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. Whereabouts were you coming from?
North Bay, Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that where you're from?
No, not originally. I've been in North Bay for about 6 years now.
Okay.
But originally born in Poland. Came to Canada in 1986. My family came, I was very young. Grew up in St. Catharines, so in the Niagara region.
Yep.
And by the time I set out to go to post-secondary, I moved to Thunder Bay out of all places. So Confederation College. I went to film school there and have lived in, worked, and promoted northern filmmaking ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that 16 mil?
We were definitely shooting on celluloid. We were still shooting film. It was before well before the DSLR revolution, but before any sort of major credible video acquisition. So we were shooting 16 mil. It was reversal, negative, Bolexes, SR2s, all that fun stuff.
Trying to get short ends to piece together.
Yeah, we stretched those rolls of film as much as we possibly could.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you've moved on now. You've kept going with the film production?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, working in the film industry at large. So these days I primarily work as a DOP, so on other productions. So I work as a cinematographer. I worked as a camera operator for many years, and I still do occasionally. But in addition to that, you know, it's always been trying to forge and put together our own productions, tell our own stories, make our own films.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And what genre would you say you're in? I mean, I've saw some of your work, and I saw the stills look amazing of the Vibe show. I'd like to get to that. But are you kind of supernatural, dark kind of stuff, or comedy, or?
You know what? A good story is a good story. I think every genre handled properly can be great, can be entertaining, can be insightful. So for me, genre is a little bit less maybe important, although the majority of my work tends to be dramatic. So I do. Comedy is very difficult. I don't write comedy. I enjoy comedies, but I don't write them. Most of my work is drama, but the most recent one that we sort of delved into called Phantom Line through Bell 5, TV1, was very, very heavy on the genre. It's supernatural thriller. We kind of skimmed the horror genre just a little bit, and we just did our best to sort of live up to the promise of that genre.
And you wrote the script?
I did. So the stories my wife and I, Andrea Novo, and I came up with the concept and the story for it. We pitched it to Bell, and then I went on to write the 6 episodes for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the 6-episode format, is that something that Vibe prescribed? Or tell me about the process with Vibe, because I'm kind of interested. It seems like it's come up with this new way of getting a production made.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I mean, Bell 5 was just introduced to North Bay last year, so we pitched our idea, our project, in the first round that was available in North Bay in our area. Bell has been around in other municipalities and areas across Canada, but this is a new introduction to Northern Ontario. So, you know, there's not too much to say. It's been very straightforward and easygoing. Bell's been super supportive, great with feedback. We knew going in that they were looking for specific genre content, so we tried our best to sort of work within that and make it as layered and as interesting as possible. As far as the episodic format goes, I think it just works really well on their platform. They've got a much longer runway, 6 episodes. They can release an episode every week for a certain duration. It's great for their audiences, and it kind of builds up the sort of excitement around a new show that they come out, versus a one-off 2-hour, you know, feature film where it kind of gets released and then that splashes over.
Do they own the production when you're done, or how does that work?
There's a license agreement, so they own the finished product, or they have first dibs at the product for a certain duration after the project is completed. Yeah.
And then you own it, even though they put up some of the money?
Exactly, absolutely, yeah. So it's a license agreement, but the production is still produced by us. So my company, my wife's company, Arcane Film Group, in conjunction with Lightspell Media, we're the producers of the product itself.
Nice.
So yeah.
And what's the one-line premise of the of this series?
The one-line premise for Phantom Line. It's
I'll give you 2 lines.
yeah, 2 lines.
One's kind of hard.
I thought my elevator pitch days were over for this, but the film is about a local journalist who is trying to cover the story about these people in the community that are going missing. And unlike everybody else in the community, including the law enforcement, she thinks that it's tied to something completely different and unrelated, a supernatural angle that has to do with things that are not quite resolved from the past. And she sort of follows her gut and tries to resolve the story that way.
Seen plenty. Enough to know what belongs and what doesn't.
And then how did you kind of weave North Bay into the story? Because I understand they're looking for kind of regional. So is that a character, almost the backdrop of North Bay, the locations, or how does that work? Yeah.
It is, and that's one of the cool things about Bell 5 is, they not only did, it's part of their mandate. They really want you to, okay, if you're going to make a story, set it in your community, right? Like that's what this is. It's kind of community programming. So North Bay plays as North Bay. It's very much a character in the film. And when I say North Bay, I mean North Bay and surrounding region, because it's, it's the whole sort of Nipissing area. But those locations, those settings, they're a character in the series as well. So just leaning into that and doing our own research, taking a deep dive into some of the history, local lore, and kind of like tales that you can come across and read. We started piecing together our own sort of variation and creative version of the past and some of the spooky things that we kind of came across.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds really cool. I can't wait to see when it comes out.
Yeah, well, it's going to come out very soon. I believe the air date is going to be September. So
Oh my God. So when did you wrap?
we wrapped, I think, like less than 2 weeks ago.
So bing, bang, boom, it's on.
Pretty much. We already we have an assembly. We've got a rough cut of the first episode. It's coming together. It's a lot of work, but it's coming together very well. And deliverables are going to be sent out in a couple months. So it's a very condensed post-production period.
And North Bay, what's the filmmaking community? How hard is it to get equipment there to brew up and all that kind of stuff? Like, tell me about some of the challenges and maybe some of the benefits.
Okay, I mean, it's always evolving, right? I mean, since the introduction of the NOHFC, so Northern Ontario Heritage Fund, there was no filmmaking up north prior to that, really, realistically, in terms of narrative, long-form content. There was documentary work and short-form stuff. Even when I was in Confederation College in Thunder Bay, there was very little.
But now all of a sudden you see Adam McGoyan's all these filmmakers are making a Northern Ontario production or Hallmark.
Yeah.
You see all of a sudden it's become like in vogue to have a Northern movie.
At the end of the day, it's a financial incentive. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And it's not unique to the Canadian film industry or to Ontario. The entire film machine operates on incentives. So tax incentives, credits, and grants. That, in conjunction with a location that's film friendly, like a city, town, municipality that's film friendly, is sort of the ingredients that you need for a producer to come in and succeed.
Film friendly, do you mean, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
do you mean like no permits or like people aren't sort of jaded? Like if you hear something, they start jackhammering and thinking, well, we need someone to pay us off if we're going to keep making noise.
Don't give people ideas, Ben, but yeah, they'll run the lawnmower or the leaf blower just to make a buck. I mean, unfortunately, those people do exist, and it's a very delicate balance. I don't think people really appreciate the relationship between film producers and, by extension, film crews and the community. It really has to be balanced and reciprocal. If a producer comes in and their intention is, I want to get as much as I can for as little as I can pay, as quickly as possible, and then, for lack of a better term, that's going to render a result that's going to leave a lasting impression on the community.
Sure.
People might become defensive, or they might look at, okay, well, how can I benefit from the situation that's not fair?
Yeah.
So both sides have to be sort of on the same page and working together in some way. I think it's difficult because in Northern Ontario, because of the NOHFC and because of this industry developing here, most of it is service productions. You've got filmmakers, producers that are coming from outside of the community. They're integrating in some capacity to various degrees with local community members, possibly filmmakers, etc. And they're trying to sort of run their business, make their film.
There's got to be like sort of training people so that you're getting more and more experience the longer this film industry goes on for, right?
There is, but it kind of plateaus because, like I said, there's sort of leadership key role positions which are really hard to train for and quite coveted in the film industry. And then there's sort of your film workers that come in and do the day-to-day sort of grunt work and
Set building,
all sorts of stuff, moving heavy equipment and that sort of thing, catering, etc. So there's all sorts of things. But, I think what would be interesting to see, North Bay is good because it's small. It's a small community. It's really easy to work in. I do think there's lots of room there and everywhere to sort of help streamline the production process, the permits, all those sort of legalities and things for productions that are dealing with smaller budgets. So there's lots of room for that. A one-size-fit-all solution for the film industry is not beneficial, and I think Northern Ontario still has a long way to go in order to learn that. A show with a certain budget, episodic, long format, with a certain budget, tier A shows, tier B shows, those dynamics, those production dynamics and logistics are very different if you're operating on something that's south of, $100,000, for example, right? So I think figuring that out and making that distinction, both for people at the city, for community members, I think that's going to shift things more in terms of allowing local producers and filmmakers to continue to develop what they're doing.
Gotcha. But living there now, you feel inspired. You feel when you drive around, more stories are coming. Like just it's permeating your sort of film brain.
It's for me personally, it's hard, where you live, it's hard to find inspiration sometimes, because the reality of it, like I love to travel, I love to go places, see new things. That for me is very inspiring. Your own backyard sometimes can start feeling, and it's not North Bay, it's because it's familiar, it can start feeling a little bit old and familiar.
Sure.
This process of making Phantom Line and really putting the community, the location, the settings under the spotlight, that was very inspirational. Nice. Because now you look at the same place that you've looked at, a bunch of times, and you see it in a completely different light. You see a character standing there, you see a scene playing out there, and it becomes magical.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess you got a little film scene going there, North Bay buddies, and just a whole community of people. I felt it when I went up to Sudbury, the same kind of thing. They're doing something cool in a theater where they vote. The town supports films that they make and pays some money, and they vote on which script to go with, and then they shoot them.
Oh, cool.
So it's sort of neat. So we're just feeling like these northern towns are starting to become sort of cool places, and I can imagine if you're choosing film studies to think, I want to be around a community of like-minded people, and it's not necessarily going to York or, it's going to these North Bays or these Sudburys where they're doing really cool stuff that'll inspire you to,
100%. Yeah. I think despite the size of the community, you want some sort of, local art scene, some sort of local film scene, people that are doing cool things, not just talking about it, but actually making stuff, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be great. That's okay, but things need to be happening. Otherwise it becomes stagnant. It becomes uninspiring. Right?
Yeah. The North has certainly become a character, right?
Yes, and it is. It is.
And so for this particular show that you just wrapped, do you see a second season or some other, or is it kind of a one-off production, or could it be like Stranger Things or a?
Yeah, I mean, I think the concept definitely has legs for a second season. It has the legs for more story. I don't question that. The main character of the series, Sarah Beckett, she's a pretty interesting character. There's a lot of very multifaceted, very three-dimensional. So there's a lot there. This first season was very much written as a limited series, so there's a very definitive, beginning, middle, and end. But it's not hard for me to sit back and imagine more story.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess going back to just the nitty-gritty of the film production, another thing I'm working on is just like on the pre-visualization side or the planning side of films.
Right.
So I just wonder, what's your process on that pre-production side in order to like figure out budgets and the planning and all that kind of stuff? Like maybe just walk me through. You come up with a script, then there's of course the limitations of how much money you're going to raise for it, which kind of changes shots and story, I guess. And then there's the planning stage, because you want to be with a small budget, you want to be very tight with your. So yeah, just walk me through how you might.
because I work in so many different areas of film production, including producing, like you become very aware of the different aspects that you have to be sensitive to. From a producing point of view, especially at any budget, but especially on a low budget, micro budget, nano budget, you really have to kind of build a thesis of efficiency in order to succeed.
Yeah.
In order to like stand a chance to succeed.
Sure.
So if that means, basically what it comes down to is you really have to plan. Like everything is done in pre-production, everything. So when it comes to pre-visualization, pre-viz, storyboarding, location scouting, that stuff is indispensable, not just for yourself, but also for the whole crew. So anybody who's involved at the early stages, at the development and planning stages, everybody's on the same page, everybody's making the same movie. As long as that process, whether it's really detailed storyboarding or shot listing or something more advanced like previs, animation, that sort of thing, as long as it's true to the environment, like to the actual settings and locations that you're going to be working within, I think it's absolutely amazing because you can find a lot of the problems in advance and deal with them versus discovering them on the day.
And you had mentioned, I think during lunch, about working with Dark Slope on their LED wall. Do you think that would be something useful for Northern Ontario? Because I know there's been talks of it, but to have something where, you could, do you see it as a cost savings or just a way to kind of take a micro budget and make it a macro budget? Because now you're getting some shots that you would only be, computer generated shots that you wouldn't be able to get,
I think there are two schools of thought. I think the LED volumes are an amazing piece of technology. I think it's a great tool for filmmakers moving forward. I don't see it going anywhere. It makes a lot of sense. The technology is great. The creative control and flexibility is huge. And if handled well, again, mostly through pre-production and planning, it can save a lot of money. Dark Slope was really cool. I did a very involved workshop with them and tour late last year. And, I think it's one of the largest LED volumes, if not the largest in Canada. They've got a wonderful setup. I think that there are two schools of thought as far as LED volumes in North Bay. On the one hand, I think it could potentially be an interesting thing to have nearby. But I think the other school of thought is saying, like, well, why build that infrastructure here? Like, the reason why people come to North Bay or they come to Northern Ontario is because of locations like this.
Sure.
The LED volume is great, but then you have to bring all of your crew. You have to bring everybody up, unless there's the manpower, the resources there to run that operation smoothly, it starts getting really cumbersome. I mean, you may as well just do it in Toronto, to be honest, right?
Sure.
So I'm not saying that the only reason to shoot films in Northern Ontario is because of the nature of the landscapes. That's not entirely true. But at some point, that LED volume, it can be anywhere.
Are you like a green screen guy? Like you got to shoot a car interior, or are you doing green screen with people pushing the car around? Or are you doing a flatbed truck?
Yeah, practically. For me as a director, cinematographer, anything that can be done in camera practically is more believable.
Sure.
And I'll lean into that. I think it's more punk rock too, a little bit, to try to do it that way. Green screen has its challenges, and you can really kind of sniff that out. Even audiences are pretty good at sort of catching those things. LED volume's much more convincing. So I do think that's better tech. But, like I said, it really depends what you're doing. If you're doing a commercial for a credit card and you want your characters to be in 4 different locations in one day, well, quite frankly, it makes a lot of sense to shoot on a volume because you can, your backdrop is Paris, and then it's, then you're in Warsaw or whatever,
Sure.
You can do that. It just really depends on the project.
Nice. And what do you have in the slate coming up next? Any productions that you're planning, or?
I think the next order of operations for us is really to finish up this post-production on Phantom Line, just because the schedule is so tight. So prioritizing that, there are a handful of projects in our personal slate that we have, and pending the success of this last effort, we'll see what makes sense in terms of the next project moving forward. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming by to the Portage. Really excited to see this series.
Thanks for the invitation, Ben.
Yeah, awesome.
Appreciate it.
Really great to have you here.
Looking forward to trying out the previs.
Absolutely. Yeah.